Hello and welcome to the Eleemosynary Moment. My name is Aaron Spears.
And I'm Brad Hathcock. Welcome to Shutdown Day 2025.
It
Day
happens
one.
a lot.
It does. It does. And it's funny. Obviously, we're going to start off with this today. I hope you have more to talk about.
I actually would rather talk
But
about
this
anything
is
but this.
well, this is the big thing that's going on right now. I think it's important to note that this does happen a lot. But even CNN was calling out Chuck Schumer on this because obviously they averted the shutdown back in March, I believe it was, by just passing the clean CR and the stopgap, which was basically all funding from the Biden administration CR anyway. So they went through that, and Chuck Schumer said we can't shut down the U.S. government. It's detrimental to everybody in America, and we just can't do this. Jobs are at stake. All this, and now he wants to shut it down, saying, "Oh well, we have to negotiate and we have to agree and like all this other stuff." But back in 2019 he was calling a shutdown reckless, from the Republicans and stuff like that because of the same things. And he specifically cited, we don't let policy differences get in the way, and we just, we have to avoid a shutdown. But here we are letting policy differences dictate the shutdown. So,
Well, it's a lose-lose for him because he got lambasted back in, what is it, April for that by his own party. So he didn't play hardball and they didn't like it, and now he is. Um, you know, it's a lose-lose because his constituency are the people who are furloughed, and if he did go through with it, if they did get the votes, then it was going to make him look bad and weak in his own party. But on the other side, now his own people are going to be upset with him for going through with it. So I don't. It's a political calculation, and what is it that they want? They want the Obamacare subsidies in the bill. Do you know what that amount is?
so what I'm hearing is that they're basically asking for like, I think Republicans are saying like $1.5 trillion in spending. So they want those subsidies, and they want like the 500 billion or whatever to go back to fucking PBS.
Uh, well, 1.5 trillion is a large number. Um,
That's a drop in the bucket compared to what they already spent.
I'm surprised because I thought that the Affordable Care Act actually solved all this. So we're gonna have this fight now for every single time.
Well, it didn't solve it.
Of
So
course
I
not.
think I said this the other day. Elizabeth Warren said that healthcare was in crisis before we were cutting the spending, and now we're going to cut the spending, and it's a crisis. So there's a healthcare crisis whether you're spending the money or not. So is the government funding actually helping to solve a healthcare crisis? Probably not.
I'm sure there is a healthcare crisis. I just don't know that. I just don't know that they're gonna be capable of fixing that.
Well, it's the government. Mike Johnson actually just admitted on, I think it was CNN or Fox. He was saying that, we have too much government, and the government's not particularly good at doing anything. So,
Well, it's
I mean, he said it
true.
himself.
Well, he is the government, so yeah, I guess he would know
Sure.
best. Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do here. What is Schumer gonna get? I mean, maybe they negotiate something, but like a lot of it was okay. We have the Affordable Care Act, and the money's going to people who shouldn't be on it, and that's the that's where they're having issues. But I what are they gonna negotiate? Like,
Right.
you
I
tell
mean,
me.
so Republicans are sitting here saying that we don't want illegals to get Medicare and stuff like that, which the Democrats are saying that they don't. They're not eligible for Medicare and things like that. either. So those are really the two competing arguments. Democrats are trying to build the message for themselves around healthcare and providing healthcare needs and stuff like that. And they're saying that people are like gutting healthcare, from I think 15 million people they say they argue will get taken off. But then Mike Johnson threw out the Congressional Budget Office saying that the big beautiful bill actually is doing or is going to do what it says it's going to do, and actually reduce government spending and whatnot. I don't know if that's true. I haven't looked at it. I'm just saying what Mike Johnson said. Um, but I don't know what. Literally, they just want the subsidies back and $500 billion for PBS, which who wants to keep funding the propaganda broadcast system? Like, not me.
Well, yeah, the PBS thing is, I don't, I don't know why they think they should do that. That's not the hill to die on, obviously.
No, but Democrats need something to grasp onto and a hill to die on, right? And this is the one that they have seemed to have chosen. They're making it mostly about the healthcare. The PBS thing, I've heard that come from Republicans more than I've heard come from Democrats. Um, so I don't know that that's inherent to their message, but they're just focusing on this. Mike Johnson came out and said that Chuck Schumer's afraid of AOC, and getting like primaried ultimately. And just like what a world we live in where your politics are, they live and die based off of whether or not you're going to get primaried and possibly lose your seat in government. Like, that's where we're at. Okay. I think it's important to note that none of them actually care about you. Okay. Um, the Affordable Care Act, like, those subsidies sure are a thing, but that insurance is very expensive for people too. It's not like it's that affordable for everybody. Um, Anecdotally, I know people who had refused it in the past and just rather would have paid the fine that I believe is no longer a part of the Affordable Care Act. Whereas back when it first came out, if you didn't have employer-based insurance or any other kind of insurance, and you chose not to buy from the ACA, uh, what do they call them, exchanges, then you would pay a fine every year, and it was cheaper to pay the fine than it was to actually buy the insurance. So people still went without insurance and just paid the fines. I think they did away with that
I think
in
so.
Trump's first term. I think they ended up getting rid of that requirement to have it, but they still left the exchanges open and stuff. So um, but this is the world we live in. I mean, Democrats are trying. They have like I think a 34% approval rating amongst even their own party. It's super low, which is actually lower than the Republican approval rating. So like,
It's the lowest in
and it's the
generations.
only right. It's the only lever that they have to pull in terms of power. Right, is to shut the government down. Um, but what their fear is, when there's a government shutdown, power kicks up to the executive, right? And they're afraid that Trump is just going to start firing people. He's basically just going to furlough so many federal workers that they're not going to come back when the government opens, depending on how long this is, because he gets to pick where the funding goes and stuff. So um, we're in for a dogfight. I mean, I think the last government shutdown we had was 35
It might
days?
have been, yeah, it might have been somewhere around there. I, well, and the party that did that got the blame, and so I guess they take the blame. Like, I don't see it.
The whole thing is that they're just pointing fingers at this point. The fact of the matter is they're all to fucking blame for this, wholeheartedly. They've put themselves in this position, so it doesn't matter which side you want to blame. They're all responsible for the position that they're in, and I think the fact needs to remain that government officials aren't held accountable enough for this kind of shit. They're playing games with people's livelihoods. We mentioned that last time. They're playing games with people's salaries and shit like that to keep their families afloat in unprecedented hard economic times as the fucking Democrats would tell you that we're having as well. So it's like they need to reconcile with that, and they don't face enough scrutiny, and there is no blowback or repercussions really for them doing this kind of shit. That goes both ways.
Yes, and AOC will primary him and she will win. So he's he must be delusional, I guess. To think that he's got any chance at a future in his own party. I think.
I'm no AOC fan, but these fucking boomers, up in the
Don't get me
government, like trying
started.
to hold on to their jobs, like, you know, that's the problem with part of the problem with government too, right? Like it was never intended to be a career, and people are making it into careers. You were supposed to go into the government, serve your fucking terms, go back to being a farmer or whatever the fuck it is that you do, and it was really built around the people who were like the top of their industries to go into government and then come as a public servant and then come out and go back into whatever their industry was. But we don't have that now. We have like unlimited terms really for Congress, and you can just stay until the fucking wheels fall off, which we've seen with Dianne Feinstein. We're seeing it with Nancy Pelosi. We see it with Mitch McConnell. All these motherfuckers having like strokes on TV and shit. And like when you're at that point, like it's fucking time to retire. Why is it that people try to retire around 67 now, the retirement age for Social Security, and these motherfuckers are sitting in government up through their 80s and 90s, like because it's a cash cow for them. So like they radically need to change this because they don't actually serve to the public's demand and purpose, right?
Well,
Like,
I mean, the New York has the ability to do whatever it wants.
yeah,
So does San
like
Francisco.
the communist uh mayor that they're about to elect,
He's
which
gonna
by the way,
win.
he says he's not a communist, he's a democratic
Yeah,
socialist.
it's great. That's how it works. You change the words of things, and that's supposed to take the edge off. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, they did it just like when they changed the term of recession under the Biden administration. Just because we were in a recession doesn't mean that we can't just change the definition to get out of it, right? I mean, that's what we did.
yeah. It's really good. Everything's awesome. I don't see how this ends. I don't have a clear picture of what is coming next.
I don't know because what's really the alternative? Not to mention the CR that already passed the House, because they keep passing these CRs
They
and they're
they
like
they
take it or leave
passed
it,
it
take
and
it or leave
left.
it.
They left town.
Yeah, they passed it and said, "See ya," like you either take it or leave it. Um, and now it's on the Senate, I believe, to pass it, right? So, um, but they passed it for 7 weeks. That's it. Just a fund through November or whatever. And like they're just saying no. So like why can't you have this fight again once you pass the CR? But the point of the matter is once they have the funding, they don't need Democrats anymore. So it's like we won't argue about this. Then when it comes up again in fucking November, we're going to do the same old thing. So now we're facing government shutdowns every 3 months probably.
Yeah, and that's the problem with an omnibus spending package. I am going to stop this podcast for a second. All right. Well, I think it's going to stitch together, and so
Yeah, we're back after a little snafu here, but we'll soldier
it's one
on.
of
I
those
think
days.
we've beat that with the dead horse, or with a dead horse. Is as a dead horse, beat a dead horse. I
With
don't know, whatever
dead
the
horses
fucking.
die. Stop killing the horses.
We're swinging dead cats, like whatever that shit is.
Swinging the dead cat. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a saying in the South like you can swing a dead cat around here and hit something. I don't know, some redneck shit.
Okay. Well, I don't see this ending well for anybody, but whatever. Um
What do you think is like a estimation of how long this goes on?
if I was the Democrats, I wouldn't want this to go on past Monday.
because they only need 7. They
They
need
have
7
5.
Democrats. Actually, they might need more than that because I think Thomas Massey is saying get fucked
Well,
when it
that's the
comes to
House.
this. Yeah,
The Senate, I think, is I think they got like they need 2, maybe. I don't know. Fetterman, I think, voted for it, but
yeah. I think last I had heard, but this was like essentially, I guess last night was like 3 Democrats at least already were like, yep, at least we got to cross the line here.
yeah, if they don't, well, I don't know. You won't notice it at first. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like if you're TSA, if you're other agencies, you could continue to work air traffic controllers, because you're exempt, so you just work and you don't get paid. But if it's 30 days and you start calling in sick, then you know,
I think it's
or people.
important to note that this also happens on state levels too. Like if they don't pass the budget and you work for the state in any capacity, um, I know like in our school district one time here, I guess like a year or two ago, because Pennsylvania also has not passed a state budget and it was supposed to be passed in July, I think. Um, and here we are in October, and they still haven't passed a state budget. So it does happen here in states as well, where like school districts might have to go to work and not get paid and stuff like that. So, um, this isn't just a federal government situation. Like this happens everywhere.
Sure, yeah. And I would say in California, they find a way to spend money. I mean, it's wild what they do up in Sacramento, but nobody cares. So, the I guess we could talk about one other topic that's on my mind, and then we can transition to maybe something else because I'm just sick of talking about all this shit.
Sure, hit me with
Um,
it.
well, the Gaza plan came out, and Hamas was given an ultimatum: return all the hostages, and that's it. Or, you know, they'll just get rid of Hamas. They're just going to eliminate them.
I
So,
thought there was more to that. I thought that they had to demilitarize completely. I thought they
yeah,
had to give up all of their munitions, everything.
yeah, yeah,
That was
they
part of
do.
it. So it wasn't just release the hostages. It was basically throw down all your weapons and give up,
Well, that's the thing,
or
right? It's like,
total annihilation.
I'll tell you what all these people who said there's a genocide happening, they accidentally say the quiet part out loud, which is they don't want this. They do not want Hamas to disarm. And there's a genocide and there's famine, and then all of a sudden there's a deal on the table to end all that, and they're like, whoa, 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 no, we can't do that. So it's telling that in the West, countries are kind of like recognizing a state on paper, and people are like, don't do this, and then everybody in the Arab street, or they're all like, we're good. I mean, they got approval from like Saudi Arabia and Pakistan and all these other signatories to say like, yeah, this is a plan. Let's press forward with it. Which, by the way, drew like lines, right? There was like it's not a DMZ because Israel will be armed, but they're gonna pull out in a staged effort, and they're gonna make a border around the strip, and that's the plan. And I don't think Hamas is going to take it. Hamas leadership is in Qatar, and I don't think they're going to take it, Brad.
Well, there's no incentive for them to take it. I mean, they're getting assassinated in Qatar anyway, because Israel's just doing their thing and basically assassinating opposition in any way and capacity all across the world when they can. Um,
Oh, I should say, actually, I'm sorry. Part of the deal was that I think Israel agreed, if you just do this and agree to it, we won't hunt you down after the fact. We won't pull a
oh,
Munich.
well, then maybe. I
I
don't know.
mean,
Maybe they'll take it.
like
I
they've
don't
always
think
said,
so.
they value death more than anybody values life.
I
But
think Israel has proven that they're fairly adept at doing this, and that, to be honest with you, probably already have plans for getting the rest of Hamas leadership out of Qatar in the first place. Um, and they
sure,
just
I
haven't
mean,
acted on it because it's a slow play, right? It's like take out a couple guys, scare some more in there, and be like, okay, well, we killed
I mean,
these guys, like we're
if you're hiding
coming.
out, if you're in Argentina, they're gonna come and find you eventually. So yeah, if Hamas might get a microchip implanted in their neck because of something they take or whatever. I don't know what Israel can do, but if they say like, look, we'll let you go, just get these hostages back and end this fucking thing.
I think you're fully aware of what Israel can do. I mean, they blew up what 150 terrorists with pagers. Like and that was what did we say? Like 20 years in the making or some shit.
1500,
You
and
know,
yeah, it was because the head of the Mossad recently did an interview on Honestly, and it was pretty eye opening. The guy was like, "Yeah, we just can't say what we do, but we do it everywhere, and there's nowhere you can hide from them. It's obviously the most sophisticated agency in the world, so just return the fucking hostages." I don't know. I'm very frustrated with this because the West just basically said like we get so close to a something, and then France goes like, oh, okay, well, we're gonna recognize a Palestinian state now, and then it's like
well,
there's no
didn't the whole
incentive.
EU do that?
Well, the
Didn't they say,
EU
"Oh
is
yeah, well, we're recognizing a Palestinian state," which I do believe is not the first time they've done that. I think
no,
they've
but
actually said it like multiple times.
it just dangles a carrot for them to keep these hostages, and nobody wants this thing to end, obviously, because
Two-state solution. That's what the saying has always been. We need a two-state solution, and they've been saying that. I mean, shit, Hillary Clinton was saying that back in the fucking 90s.
yeah, well, I mean, it was because Hamas started a war in 2005. They've had 6 conflicts or whatever it is, and I keep saying this, and I know I get disagreement, but like Israel pulled out of Gaza and just said like, just take it, and they just could not live side by side, and so
But again, but that's not true. That's what the whole West Bank situation is about, and
I'm
everything
just talking
else.
about
And
Gaza.
we've discussed that
I
before.
don't want. Yeah, I know you're right about the West Bank. I'm just saying for Gaza, it's
And
like we forcefully pulled Israelis out of Gaza. We just said like, no, they removed their own citizens from there, and they just said just take it, and this is what they've done with it. And
right, and it must also be said that Israel is not entirely innocent in some of the things that they do. Like they've actually killed Christian people, like up in Syria. They bombed a church or something and killed Christians like inside a church, stuff like that. Like they're not completely innocent in everything that they do. Okay, I'm not talking about Palestine or whatever. I'm talking in general. Um, I think it's weird that like here in the United States, it's okay that Israel spies on us, but like it is forbidden for us to spy on Israel. Like we spy on everybody else except for
I don't know
them.
that it is. I don't know
Oh no, it
that
is. I
so
mean,
simple.
John Kiriakou has said it multiple times on different podcasts. I think Andrew Bustamante. These are both former CIA guys. They say it's Israel's a no-fly zone when it comes to spying. Like they absolutely will not do it from the CIA standpoint.
Um, well, to get back to the plan itself, it was like 21 steps, and you know, um, they're going to rebuild. The Arab world's going to help. Um, I Hamas isn't going to take this deal, right?
I don't imagine so. The only way I see them take this deal is if they take the deal, they spend a few years recouping, right? Because they're losing, I mean, untold numbers of fighters. Um, so I mean, a large portion of Gaza is filled with women and children, so they need to let those kids start to grow up so that they can obviously put them through whatever Hamas camps that they're putting them through and shit like that to radicalize them and basically recoup their numbers. Um, Iran's not going to stop funding Hamas. Let's put that out there immediately. It's Israel's fighting a war on multiple fronts still with like Hezbollah, which we haven't even heard about in quite a while. But we all
I
know
think.
that that's
Well,
like the funding's not going to stop coming. So I think Hamas may eventually take a deal like that, but it'll be short lived, probably for, I would say, a decade, maybe, while they basically let people grow up and start to rearm themselves.
I could see that whole area just, they're just gonna make sure that nothing like that ever happens again, and maybe they rebuild the strip and maybe everything's fine, or maybe
I
not.
doubt
But
it. This shit happens like all the time. Like if you go back and look at the history of Israel and Gaza, uh, they fight constantly. It's always Israel takes more lives than what was forfeited by a terrorist attack or whatever. Like they will kill 30,000 people to the 800 people that get killed or something like that. That's typically how the numbers look, in that regard,
that's what
right or
happens when
wrong.
you start shit.
I'm not saying right or wrong, right? I'm just saying like this happens frequently. So, and it has for again, like I don't know, 50 years, whatever. Like, so to think that any deal that Hamas takes is going to be, oh, now we have peace, is completely wrong, because it's not gonna stop. Hamas again is the governing body of Gaza, so like technically a government, I guess, if you will. And they're not gonna stop. They're gonna keep taking money. Uh, Whatever, I guarantee, fucking try to rebuild Gaza. A lot of that money is going to go to Hamas for funding, and they're going to build some stuff, but it'll be to hide the shit that they're purchasing, building more tunnels to hide weapons in and shit like that. Because if Israel pulls out and stops doing what they're doing, they're going to, who's going to keep track of what's going on there to make sure that they're not rearming? Nobody.
Well, I think you're right, and then I also think that the these countries that are like the Arab Street that are like, yeah, like we'll finally do this, because remember, they haven't. I mean, this is the first time that Saudi Arabia has like said, yeah, we approve of this. So maybe they help out in some way. I don't know, but I just want to talk about it. I just think it's like it's on the table, and it's something I follow. It's, to me, the most interesting story in the world, because Hamas has more tunnels than they even possibly imagined. Like I don't even know what the number was, but it's like the amount of like roads or places in Gaza, like there is like as many tunnels underneath it. Like it's just an ant nest. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, I mean, and we've talked about that before. Like whatever tunnels Israel thinks that they've like collapsed, I guarantee you they're all over that country. Um, to get, they could, I believe I recall them being able to get into Egypt. Technically, like finding tunnels that they could basically get under the borders of Egypt and bypass all of that. Um, I'm sure that happens, and I'm sure Hamas is spending time digging more tunnels, stashing away more weapons, all this other stuff, right? Because how do you know that they've completely disarmed? What, who is Israel going to go in and make sure that they are completely disarmed, go door to door, go through every tunnel? No. Hamas
The
is
world
could be
won't let
biding
them
its
do that.
time to supplying caches of weapons, and then they'll come back and say, yeah, we'll take that deal. But here they probably already threw away 50% of their weapons so that they could access them at a later time.
I mean, you could do it with technology, I guess, but the other thing is just that they just fucking end Hamas, and I don't know. I just would like to see I would like to see it end with the hostages returned, and I guess it's not probably going to happen.
I don't know that you can inherently end Hamas. Like let's look back at obviously Al Qaeda turning into basically like ISIS, and then you have ISIS K, and you had the Taliban and all this shit, right? They never go away. They lie dormant. That's ultimately what happens there. I know Trump in his last term was like, we got rid of ISIS, we killed ISIS. You didn't. There's still factions of ISIS that are out there. Um, again, the Al Qaeda is still out there, the Taliban's still out there. They're all still out there. We've been fighting against the Houthis for who fucking knows how long, and they never go away. Okay, so this won't be any different. I mean, Hezbollah's been around for even God knows how long. So I don't think that there's an actual solution here for virtually anybody, because this is just going to keep going on. You're not going to get rid
Uh,
of them. You're like, what's going to happen is you're going to radicalize more people against Israel, especially with the way that they've handled some of these things, right? Like, again, right or wrong, it's going to radicalize people one way or the other. Like we see how here in the States, people are radicalized, either way, for or against Israel, depending on your stance on the situation.
no,
And it
okay, I have to disagree with you there. It only goes one direction here. It really does.
no, see, I disagree here, because some of the people who are pro-Palestinian will say, right, like they dislike what's happening to the Palestinian people, and they're just being lumped in as being anti-Semitic. It doesn't mean that they hate Jews. Not all of them. Okay, sure, there are people out there who are saying that and things like that. That's not true. Um, Not everybody hates Israel just because they hate what Israel's doing. Okay, so
I
you're
it's
kind of you're lumping them all into one basket. It's more nuanced than
yeah, I
that.
am. No, I think you're giving them too much credit.
But
I really do.
again, the question is does Israel have a right to just do whatever it wants to anybody? Again, they've been killing Christians in Syria and stuff like that. Do they have a right to
Nobody's
do whatever they want, and the United States government can't say anything about it
no, the United States
because
government
of
can
what?
say sure,
Because
they
of the
could
Holocaust and stuff like that?
no.
Do they have carte blanche to do whatever they want because of that?
They never start any of this. They never make France do what it does. They never make Germany do what it does. Like they just are there. They're everything's fine. They're doing their own politics. Israeli politics is a complicated thing, and then they get attacked, and then the world goes, don't fight back
Oh,
every
right.
single
And I'm
time.
not, again, you know how I stand on this. I obviously believe that they should be able to fight back, right? But again, there's certain levels of response, and I don't inherently believe that Israel just sits around on their fucking thumbs until something happens to them. That I don't believe that to be true. Everybody does some fucked up shit in the world, like we all know that,
Then
okay?
it's okay that they do it too. I guess.
That's what I'm saying. Like, but at what level? Like, how many levels are there to this? Like, it's
It
it's
it's war and terrorism, so it's never going to be clean. I'm not saying you're wrong because I'm not saying you're. This isn't your perspective. I talked to you privately. I know exactly how you feel. You're
yes,
not defending people who are saying like it's bad what they do, but people that are protesting or whatever. You're trying to say like they're allowed to criticize the Israeli government. I'm just
correct.
coming at it from a different angle.
But we are in a situation where if you criticize Israel, you are just lumped in as being anti-Semitic,
More and
and
more, I believe that to be
Israel
true,
does
though.
that too, though. So, like, I'm not anti-Semitic, and if I come out and speak out against Israel, Israel itself will say that I'm anti-Semitic,
I
but
don't.
that's
I
not true.
not well. That's where the people that live in Israel would probably agree with you. Half of them would probably say, "Yeah, like we disagree with the government as well." But when it comes to the West, I don't have a doubt in my mind that these people always find a way to get to that point. They might start out saying this is wrong, but they always end up at hating the Jews.
I'd be interested to see current polling out
It's
of
bad.
Israel, because
Oh well,
I
it's bad
don't
in Israel
believe that
and here.
I I don't think that the Israeli citizens, like, they've had protests against Netanyahu and stuff like that because of what's going on in Gaza now. So just
Because
like
they're a
Ukraine,
democracy.
well, just like Ukraine is like losing popularity for fighting the war against Russia, even though they've actually made some good infighting, like against Moscow itself, sending drones and shit to attack there. Like, I would be
Energy.
interested to
Yeah.
see what um, the Israelis have to say about even even this deal that was cooked up, right? And see some
I,
polling about that, but I don't
well,
think we'll get to see that.
well, no, I listen to a lot of podcasts that cover this specific subject with people that are in Israel, and I would say it's 50-50. But like that's why Israel matters, because they're the only democracy in the Middle East, and they can actually go out and protest and say like this is wrong and all that. So
But I will push back on that because of a lot of the things that Netanyahu does would in this country be seen as very anti-democratic. So sure, they are the only like functional democracy there. Um, but again, like same thing with Ukraine, like Zelensky fucking banning different political parties and shutting down elections and all that other shit. Like that's anti-democratic. But we sit here and defend these institutions as like the beacons of fucking democracy, but they aren't the beacons of fucking democracy that people make them out to be. Okay,
they
like
are in the regions, and I will say this:
sure, but
America's
that's because they're surrounded by terrorist states. Ultimately, so
that's
like
American exceptionalism, though. We did
everything
the
looks like fucking democracy when you're surrounded by terrorists, fucking communists.
I mean, what yeah, I just think
I mean, go on.
America has a constitution, and for whatever reason, no other country decided that they would write down the things on a constitution, and that's how you get stuff like that. And so it's not perfect, but it's better than
Okay,
the
look at
alternative.
South Korea and North Korea. All right, South Korea is seen as a beacon of democracy, yet their president declared that martial law and is basically getting overthrown. His sister is actually on trial for corruption charges within the government. Like their government is inherently corrupt, and then you
But
have the
listen to what
North
you're
Korean
saying.
government. Like, but at least South Korea looks more democratic than fucking North Korea does. Like,
Listen to yourself, Brad. You just said that they're on trial. They tried to do something, and it didn't work.
yeah, in that regard, but that doesn't mean that it's like it's necessarily working. He's still the president there. He's not on trial anymore. I believe they let that go. He's, I believe,
Well,
still in power there.
we should
So,
probably not talk about it until we know the facts, because I don't know that either. I'm just saying, like, there are places in the world where justice is served, and it goes back to like this whole thing where like, why these countries, Britain included, why they have like never written this stuff down and codified it, I'll never understand. Because we have our constitution, and it's virtually unchanged,
well,
25
because
times.
Britain wants to throw you in prison for making tweets, like mean tweets.
Ugh,
That's why they don't codify this shit.
dude, that's grim. That country is, man,
If you want
what
to
happened?
understand why we have a First and Second Amendment and why we have to defend them fucking fervently, look at the UK.
That comedian wrote a tweet, landed at Heathrow or wherever. 5 people were there to arrest him for it.
Correct.
That's
But then they let
insane.
out a convicted terrorist out of
Mm-hmm.
prison. So you're letting out a convicted terrorist from prison after I think like a 5-year sentence or some shit. I don't know the explicit details on that. But you're then arresting a comedian for saying something.
It's
Like
it's so
that's a
wild.
great fucking use of resources.
It's crazy because like you think about like you go watch Lawrence of Arabia and you see the British and you're like, oh, this is a very respectable group of people who abide by pleasantries and things. And now it's like, oh, we're just locking you up for just standing outside somewhere praying. If you're like praying, they arrested a woman for doing that, and she did it multiple times, and
Or for
it's grim
tweeting.
there, dude. For tweeting,
I'm
never
surprised
tweet,
they haven't. I'm
never
surprised
tweet.
they haven't gone after like J.K. Rowling for her like
I bet you they have.
anti-trans stance.
She's got fuck you money, and she's putting her neck out, and
Yeah, but I will. The only reason I will say that they probably haven't is because a lot of the European countries have kind of backtracked on a lot of the trans stuff.
I think they're
So
the
I
last.
wonder if
Britain
that's
is like on the
the
tail end
last
of that.
the last
I keep cutting you
bastion.
off. Yeah. I kind of wonder if they're the last ones that are like fighting the fight, and everybody else is kind of like moving on from that. Okay, I'm done talking about all this shit. I want to talk about happy things.
No, what
What
do
are
you
you reading?
got?
Well, what are you reading right now?
Oh, you won't like it. I'm reading a book called Captive. It is about a journalist who was intentionally going into Pakistan to embed himself with the Taliban. And he was captured by another faction of the Taliban and kept hostage. I'm not sure how long. I think it might have been like 2 years.
Dang,
And
dude.
I'm in the throes of that right now. So he's been captured, and the way he's writing the book is interesting because he says, like, in it, they keep saying to him, like, we're treating you with respect, all this other stuff. Like, as so far, I'm probably about halfway through the book. They haven't tortured him or anything like that. They actually feed him meals. They brought him his sweater and his glasses and all this other stuff. But they made, I think his name's like Year Van Dyke or something like that. Um, and so he was a prisoner of the Taliban circa 2005, I believe.
Hmm.
So kind of still early on in the 20 years of war and stuff. But there's different factions of the Taliban and stuff. So they took him hostage, and like I said, so far it seems like they've treated him nice. Like they haven't really done anything to him. But I'm wondering if that changes at some point.
Interesting. You'll have to let me know how that ends. We'll check back with you there. I finally finished my Whitaker Chambers book, and that was really good. It um for I don't think anybody knows his name or the name of Alger Hiss, but when you go through it and you get all the deep dives into all of that, because Alger Hiss was giving American secrets from the State Department to the Soviet Union, and he perjured himself, and that's in the news, right? And so I was kind of it was perfect timing for me, because I was like, oh, this is nothing new, actually, to perjure oneself and to be put on trial for it as a public um as a public figure like James Comey. And so it was interesting to learn about that, and also learn how Whitaker Chambers was kind of like a tragic figure, because he was like an ex-communist. He was the guy who was actually transporting those secrets from Alger Hiss to the Soviet Union, and then he realized he was wrong in what he did, and then he still tried to protect all of his sources, but then eventually just Richard Nixon was running the committee, and kind of going out to Whitaker Chambers' farm every weekend, and they were talking about it. And Alger Hiss eventually gave up everybody, and it was really just insightful, because he ended up knowing William F. Buckley, who founded National Review, and Whitaker Chambers was also not a fan of National Review per se. Um, and that was the birth of like modern conservatism. So interesting guy, I would say.
Interesting. You'll have to let me know how that book is. I actually, so for those of you who aren't aware, a little inside baseball here, Aaron and I tend to send little, I would say, care packages to each other. So I find books or, t-shirts. We did an unboxing here on the podcast one time. Um, and I have like a whole slew of shit that I have to send you. It's sitting over here in my corner. It's very expensive to mail shit to you, apparently. Like, it
Save it
cost
up.
me like $80 last time. So my wife said I have to find like a one size fits all box that's one price or whatever, and try to fit it all in there. So I'm gonna try, but I have a few things, and I think I've already selected my next book since I'm kind of close, and it will be Showdown with Nuclear Iran.
Oh wow.
Um, it says I guess the subtitle here is Radical Islam's Messianic Mission to Destroy Israel and Cripple the United States. So that might be one of
That's gonna be
one of
fun.
my next reads.
Well, I just started a book on the fall of the Roman Empire, specifically, let's say, second century to sixth century. So like that gap of time where, because Rome didn't fall immediately. There wasn't like a clear like this is where it ended. I've always wondered what happened there. And so the book is informative so far, but it was written during the Iraq War. And so the author has like a whole introduction about how empires fall and how it kind of like he was kind of injecting the Iraq War into that. It
And
doesn't
how often do they fall, Aaron?
well, Brad, it turns out it's not specifically the time frame that we've discussed in the past, but it aged very, very poorly. That said, I'm looking forward to getting into the actual details. I want to know if it was like lead pipes or something that like caused it, but really what it was just that the Roman Empire was so enormous and there were so many different factions and you know these groups were initiating civil wars all across the Mediterranean. So I'm just excited to kind of fill in that gap because I really don't know. I mean, we all that joke like guys think about the Roman Empire every day. Um, it's kind
Yeah.
of true with me. I do think about the Roman Empire more than I should, but I don't know enough about it. So
Nice. Yeah, I have like a whole bunch of books because I actually, believe it or not, get a lot of my books from Goodwill. Um, I think each book is like $5, and they're all like good hardbacks. I've never run into an issue with any of them. Like I have this one here, "False Prophets," the first-hand account of a husband and wife team working for the FBI and living in the deepest cover with the Montana Freeman, which is some kind of like domestic terrorist cell. So, like,
that's good. Yeah, we like uplifting things.
yeah,
Um,
we don't do happiness here. Like I'm sitting here reading fucking joyful books. Okay, like
well, my vacation reading is going to be Slaughterhouse-Five. That's a Kurt Vonnegut book.
oh,
Blends
interesting.
science fiction and autobiography to tell the story of Billy Pilgrim, a man who becomes unstuck in time after surviving a firebombing of Dresden during World War II.
I think we read that in high school. Actually,
Well, I've never read a Kurt Vonnegut book, but I'm well aware of his cultural impacts. So,
I either read that or it was either in high school or my freshman year of college. I was an English major at the time, and I took a class called Great Books. And we, I think, read like 10 books that year or something like that, or within a semester, some kind of crazy shit. We probably didn't read entire books, but like we had to read the Bible, but from a historical perspective, which was
pretty
very
good book.
weird to me.
Yeah, it is. It's a strange book, but it's kind of all
Yeah,
there.
we're not Bible thumpers here on this podcast.
We are not,
Not that
but
we haven't read it
I
or
I
anything like that,
respect
but
the book though. Like
yeah.
it's an
Um,
interesting book.
I wish I could remember the other books that we read that year, but that was 20 years ago. So,
Well, we're old people, so this is, I don't know. I just I'm just trying to make the most of my time on this earth by reading as much as I can.
yeah, I've been trying to read more and I've actually been putting a lot of time in for this book. It's very difficult for me to get into a book. Like, even though I know what the subject matter is, sometimes people write really slow. And so it's a little hard to get into like the meat and potatoes of what you're trying to understand from the book. And so sometimes it gets very difficult. So I spread my time out, as we all know, doing 8 million things. I have too many hobbies and I have too many projects. So, like, I have to go out today and actually finish some counter flashing on my roof that I built. And that'll be an experience because my neighbor knows how to do all this shit, so he's going to show me how to do it. But it's not something I've ever done before, so obviously there's always work to be done. So it's hard for me to sit down and read, but when I do, I get like really into a book. So I'm surprised that I'm this far through this book. But that book, Captive, what
Yeah.
was interesting about it is like it's his own fault. Like, I understand he's like a journalist, and I guess he was trying to embed himself with the Taliban to um, write a book. And I guess, I mean, mission accomplished. I guess like
Oof.
not in the way that you wanted to, but mission accomplished, I guess, if that's what you were going for. And so I'll be interested to see. I know he is alive, obviously, because he wrote the book. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with how he gets out and stuff. Because right now in the book, he's talking about like, am I gonna have to sell my house and stuff to get out of here? And like, because basically the Taliban is telling him, either the U.S. will trade people from Guantanamo for you, um, or like you will go back to America, you will preach Islam to people, and you will make a donation to the Mujahideen. So it's like kind of interesting where he's like, well, where am I going to get money for that? And how much is it going to be? And then like he's always every time somebody comes into his cell, he's like, which I say cell, but he's actually living in this um, guy like Gulop's house. Um,
Hmm.
and he's just like in this room, but they bring him like a heater and like all this other stuff. But he is in there with three other people who were with him that were trying to help him get into the tribal lands in Pakistan. Um, but it is funny because I guess I didn't fully realize that there was Taliban inside of Pakistan as well, and not just Afghanistan, and that they had these different factions that may or may not actually like each other. Like if you're a Pakistani Taliban versus Afghani Taliban, like they don't really care for each other much.
Yeah, it's kind of like Pittsburgh versus Philadelphia or something.
No,
Um,
I guess that's true.
yeah, it's interesting because I watched that movie Reds with Warren Beatty about Jack Reed. Because obviously I'm going to be obsessed for the rest of my life about the Soviet Union and its horrors. But yeah, these Jack Reed, same thing. He went to Moscow to represent a group of people from America that was like the Workers' Party or whatever. And then when he got there, they were like, "You are here now forever. You can't leave. I'm sorry." And he ended up getting stuck in Moscow and died there. So, I mean, people do go, they think they believe in a cause and then they go to a place and then it's not what they thought it was going to be, which is why Greta Thunberg should be allowed to land in Gaza. But
Yeah, let her
just
figure it out for
let
herself.
her figure out for herself. But do we have any movie recommendations or anything? I do. I watched The Incredibles 1 and 2. Those were fucking great. The second Incredibles movie is like awesome. I
I
know we
didn't
don't do
watch the
animated
second one.
stuff.
No, I did. I watched the first one with my wife. She said about it because I took her to see Fantastic Four, and um, she said something about the Incredibles. She watched it for some reason, and then she was telling me actually about the characters from the Incredibles and how they have very like similar powers and things like that to the people in
Yeah.
Fantastic Four. And that's what I said to her. I was like, "Oh, it sounds like a cartoon version of that, essentially." And so she made me watch The Incredibles. It's just not my thing, really. But I also didn't see the second one.
I am not I will watch more animated movies than you. That being said, like on its merits, it's like a perfect movie. It's first of all, it's like it bookends with the first one like back to back just perfectly, but it's got like the slice of life stuff mixed in with like the actual plot. So it doesn't really have like a 3-act structure necessarily, but Bob Odenkirk is great in it, and I just thought it was like the music is great, and it's just it doesn't feel like a kids movie at all. It feels
That
like
cast of the first one is incredibly odd, but I think it speaks to how like different Pixar was before Disney bought it,
yeah,
and that it wasn't this like high dollar like movie machine, and they were still trying to like figure shit out, so they didn't have these like A-list castings. um so like if you look at that first Incredibles movie, it definitely doesn't have like an A-list cast or what you would consider an A-list cast, which is interesting. um you know what I've just recently watched, I, it's spooky season for me, which technically all year for me, I guess. But Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare showed up on Peacock, and it's part
Oh,
of the Winnie the Pooh uh, Blood and Honey series,
of course it
basically.
is.
But I will tell you, it was pretty fucking good. It was pretty fucking good. I mean, it goes a little off the rails for obvious reasons. Um, but what I can say is this guy, I think his name's Rise Wakefield, is the one directing it. I think he's really starting to figure out how to put these characters together. And what you have in this movie is Peter Pan ultimately being just a human, and so you can get away with a little bit. You can make it more like a traditional horror movie than it being fucking Winnie the Pooh, right? Like killing
Mm-hmm.
people, because it's more grounded in reality than anything else. Um, so that'll be interesting to see. And I know he has the Bambi movie coming out too. So that one's going to be unhinged. I know it for a fact. But I gotta say, like, for an hour and a half long to, I guess about an hour and 45 minutes, it's pretty solid.
Okay. Well, I'm probably not going to watch it, but maybe we'll talk about it at the end of the year. Also, I watched Green Room, which I didn't know was an
Yes.
A24 movie. Um,
Early A24.
early,
Yep.
with Anton Yelkin and Patrick Stewart, and who boy, I gave it 5 stars in my letterboxd.
I
I
think
think
that
it's
was
a
one of Anton Yelkin's last movies, right?
yeah, I think
Before he
so.
passed away.
And he's really good in it, and so is Patrick Stewart. That might be Patrick Stewart's like best role. I know people would say like Logan or Star Trek, but fuck man, is he like a nasty motherfucker in that movie. And that movie is one of the most violent movies I've ever seen, and I had no idea it was coming. I
It's
did not know what it
unhinged.
was. It's
Yeah.
so violent, and in a good way. Like I like movie violence, so but I just didn't know the title of the movie is so fitting, and I just never put it together that that's what it would be. But
I don't think
um,
I realized that you hadn't seen it. That it just never came up, like
it
that you
never
had
came
never
up.
seen that movie, and then you watched it, and you're like, "So I've never seen this movie, but
Holy shit!
how fucking good? Yeah, like how fucking good is this movie?" And
And I
it
don't
really is.
I don't want to spoil any of it because I think one of our listeners, our super fan, might end up watching it actually. So I don't want to say much, but yeah, I highly recommend watching that movie because it starts out as a thing, and you're like, okay, all right, and then it just there's a point where it just goes and something happens, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yep,
So,
right off the
and
fucking rails.
I think you know what that part is. You mentioned it, and then after that, it's just like I really I'm so naive. I'm like, well, certainly a few of these people are going to get out of there alive because they're like, but like no, it's like everybody. It sucks and everybody gets horribly killed and
Dude, and that, like, and when you think of Patrick Stewart, like you said, you think of him playing like Professor Xavier or Captain Picard, something like that, and then he's in this, and it's a complete departure from anything that you've ever seen him in.
yeah,
Um,
he has a line in this movie where he says like no bullets, only blades, or something like that, and it's like whoa, like he because the way he says it, his accent's still there a little bit
mhm.
in a good way. Like he sounds almost like a Bond villain. Almost like I want that Patrick Stewart to be a Bond villain because he's just
Oh
so
yeah.
evil.
Oh, absolutely. That movie is, you just don't see it coming like the way that it goes. Um, so highly recommend that.
Highly
You and I
recommend.
are A24 stands, and I think that's where it really started for me with A24 was Green Room. It's so good.
It's awesome. Um, yeah, that's about it for the fun stuff. I think Borderlands 4 is fixed now. They fixed the issues with the memory leaks and everything, so
Oh, good. Maybe it'll stop crashing my Xbox.
it is a functioning game now. Like I literally don't get frame drops anymore. I don't know how they didn't have that ready at launch, but um, video games are coming out, and I'm excited to play. I played. Everybody's gonna hate me for this. I played Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. It just came out. It's probably the best kart racer I've played in like 15 years. It's absolutely awesome. I'm a Sonic. Well, I like Sonic because I hate myself. But
That's a weird take.
Yeah, so but it's great, and then Battlefield's on the horizon, and I Mario Galaxy 2 on Switch 2 will be awesome as well. So
You know what I used to like because I hate myself? Crash
what's that?
Bandicoot.
Hmm.
It's one of the hardest fucking games you could ever play.
If if you don't remember, because people will go like, "Oh, I love Crash Bandicoot," it's because you played like the first level and it
Yep.
was cool. That game, all those games are so fucking hard. They're
Oh my
really
god, yeah.
hard,
I mean, and then they went into like crash racing and like all that stupid shit, which I
and
don't
those aren't
abide
easy
by. But
either. Well, Crash Bandicoot 4 was actually like a sequel, they made a new one and it's hard as fuck too.
wow,
So, but also, you know what? Mario Galaxy 2 is I think the best Mario game ever made. And it's only been playable on the Wii. They never ported it. It's crazy that they never did this. And it's coming out in like a week or so. Or no, might be out today actually. Um, but Mario is like another thing where like Nintendo is they're the Pixar of video games, the old Pixar, because like they'll make a game that's beautiful and awesome and fun, and then it's playable for some people, but then like by the end of it, there's some shit in there that's so fucking hard that like I struggle to play it. Like there's some crazy shit, and so I'm excited to get back into that. I
yeah,
haven't
I
played it since it
downloaded
came
that
out.
that RoboCop game that had come out because it's
It's
now on Game
great.
Pass. I know you said it's really good. It's a first-person shooter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably have to play through that. I think that'll be interesting. I do have to finish Borderlands. I think I'm like halfway done. It's really easy to go through the story if you just don't do any side quests. Um, the story's actually not that long. Some of the missions are, but like overall, it's pretty easy to like progress through. And I got to skip ahead because of you and I playing together. Like it was like,
Mm.
oh, do you want to just like skip this part? You already did it, and I'm like, yeah, sure. Um, so like, why not? Um, you know what I
I,
would like to
I'm
see?
yes.
Do you remember the Judge Dredd game that they had for Super Nintendo? I think it was.
I have zero memory of this.
No, okay. Well, I mean, they did another Dredd movie, so like they should bring back the Judge Dredd game.
I
That
agree.
also was hard as shit.
I agree with you. That RoboCop game, just because you mentioned it, it is the most faithful fucking game to a movie. Like other than like maybe Indiana Jones, like you are fucking RoboCop, and you are it has you doing all kinds of things that are so funny. It's so you are RoboCop. You walk kind of slow and you blow people apart, and it's cool.
Well, so I just recently watched RoboCop
I
for the
love that
first
movie
time in a
so
long
much.
time. And it's easy to forget because of how many toys and like everything else that came out for RoboCop when we were kids. I think they made
Yeah,
a fucking cartoon, like a RoboCop cartoon or something,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
How fucking violent that first movie is. Like he gets blown apart by like 10 dudes with shotguns and they show
Yes,
every second of it. Like
yes.
and like it's just amazing to think that it was like, yeah, let's take our kids to see RoboCop, right?
Yeah,
Like
that
it's the most
that
violent movie that came out in the 80s.
it's wild. It's the grittiest 80s movie, and like yeah, there is that fun aspect of like, oh, he's the robot cop. It's great. And it's like, no, that movie is the satire is so good and it's so fucking funny and also just so over the top violent. It's so good.
It's
And the
beautiful.
music. The music is that soundtrack iconic.
It's so good. Such a good movie. Highly recommend if you haven't seen RoboCop, go watch it.
I have movie posters in my house, and they're all my favorite movies. They're not all perfect, but they are great, and that is one of them. I truly love RoboCop. So, but I also have wonky taste. I've been called an elitist pig recently for my opinions on films and TV shows. So
Yes. Yeah.
I take that
Criterion
personally. How
Channel.
dare you? For saying Alien Earth was mid, I was called an elitist pig.
For the record, Aaron also likes to watch like silent 1920s films and shit like that and say that they're fantastic.
It
No.
doesn't diminish them.
We're in a way come on. We're in a way
I'm
better era of movies and shit today than we've ever been. You can
it's
do
just
so
not
much
true.
more. The effects are so much better. People learned how to act, not just read scripts. Like, come on.
You don't understand that when you watch an old black and white movie, it's a historical document of the time it was made. So like you get to see like how did they even know how did they figure this out? I don't even know. How did they get I didn't even know they had like cars in Russia when I watched this other movie. It doesn't have to, we don't talk about it, but I didn't know they had cars in Russia in like 1927. It's interesting to see like how they made films under dictatorships and the propaganda that's in them and things. Like I just like that stuff. I'm interested.
Hey, and that's fine. Doesn't
How
mean you're not
dare
an
you?
elitist pig.
I like the
We can
cuck
still be
sheep.
friends. We can
The
still be
cuck
friends.
the cuck sheep in Alien Earth is by far my favorite thing of the year.
Yes, everybody should watch Alien Earth. It was fantastic.
It
Oh,
was mid.
we finally got our super fan to watch Aliens, which he had never seen in its entirety before.
I'm hoping that this leads to him watching the other ones just because I think it'd be interesting to get his perspective.
Oh,
Because
he has to. He has to go down that rabbit hole now. Like he was all in on Alien Earth, so now he has to go down the rabbit hole. Do we remember? Did he see Alien Romulus?
we don't know that.
Yeah,
Unclear.
we're gonna have to find that out today.
I hope he because he watched Blade Runner as well, which I thought was interesting because that movie is very very slow and complex and challenging. It's not something you could just watch for fun. So it was interesting to get somebody's take on that who had never seen it before. He's getting more interesting by the day. It's a little scary.
No, don't tell him that.
Uh, yeah. Okay. Uh, World's on fire. We're all good though. So closing thoughts.
Check us out on we're on the TikTok for our clips and stuff.
Keep
But no,
sending the
we're
hate.
gonna next week I believe Aaron will not be available. So you may see a solo podcast coming, or I might try to find a special co-host for the week.
Good luck to you, sir. I'm going overseas to the great nation of Hawaii. Hopefully.
Ooh, Wahoo.
Unclear what's going to happen. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go to the Arizona. I think it's under
No,
like a
if they closed the national parks, which is a possibility, then no, you would not be able to go there.
well, unfortunately it didn't matter anyway cuz they are I get they're doing some sort of construction. I don't know how that works, but they are doing something that makes it so you can't go to it. So, cuz you have to get on like a boat to go to it. It doesn't matter. I'm just gonna sit there in the sun and be happy.
Well, get your vitamin D, touch some grass, and enjoy it, buddy.
Okay, buddy. I'll talk to you next time.
Catch you later.